My friends, today I want to talk to you about something that strikes at the heart of who we are: religion for sale. Now, when I say that, I don't mean people are standing at the corner of the street selling faith like it's a product. What I mean is this: whenever we preach one thing but live another, whenever we wear the clothes of holiness but carry hearts that are empty, whenever we use faith as a cover for our own gain, that's when we're putting religion up for sale. It's so easy to talk about faith. It's so easy to give long lectures about honesty, compassion, patience. But what really matters is not what we say, it's how we live. People don't remember your sermons, they remember your character. They don't remember the scriptures you quote, they remember the kindness you show. I heard a story about a little boy who watched his father pray in the mosque, lifting his hands in devotion, tears in his eyes. But at home, that same father would shout, lie, and treat his family harshly. One day the boy said, "Daddy, I like the man you are when you pray. Can you be that man all the time?" Friends, that's the danger of religion for sale. We create a version of ourselves for others to see, but the real us is hidden behind the curtain. True faith is never about performance, it's about authenticity. It's about letting the light inside of you shine so bright that you don't have to announce it, people can see it. When you love genuinely, when you forgive freely, when you live honestly, you don't need to wear religion like a badge. Your life becomes the message. One of the greatest tests of character is not how you act in public, but how you treat people when no one is watching. Do you keep your word when there's no profit in it? Do you show mercy when you could just as easily Nor do you stand for truth, even if it costs you something? That's where real faith is proven. Friends, don't let your faith be for sale. Don't exchange integrity for popularity. Don't trade authenticity for applause. You don't need to look religious, you need to live transformed. And when your life lines up with your words, that's when your faith becomes powerful, that's when your influence becomes lasting, and that's when people see God's light shining through you. So today, let's make a decision. Let's take off the masks. Let's stop selling faith for approval, for gain, for image. Let's live in such a way that our children, our neighbors, our co-workers see not just what we say, but who we really are. Faith is not for display, it's for living. People may hear your words, but they will always remember your character. Faith was never meant to be a stage performance, it was meant to be a lifestyle. Too often we fall into the trap of thinking that faith is about how loudly we can preach, how beautifully we can recite, or how convincingly we can speak about truth. But the reality is this: people don't measure your faith by your words, they measure it by your actions. You can give the most powerful lecture, but if your life doesn't match what you say, the impact is lost. Imagine a fruit tree. You can paint the trunk, polish the leaves, and decorate it with lights, but if there's no fruit hanging from its branches, people will walk away hungry. That's what happens when we only talk about faith, but don't live it. True faith produces fruit: honesty, humility, forgiveness, compassion. When people encounter you, they should feel nourished by the way you treat them, encouraged by your kindness, and uplifted by your integrity. Think about it. A kind gesture to someone who expected harshness can be a greater sermon than hours of preaching. A moment of forgiveness towards someone who wronged you can speak more about God's love than 1,000 verses quoted without sincerity. Living faith doesn't need an audience. It reveals itself in the everyday moments of life, at home, at work, and even in the quiet of your own thoughts. Friends, faith is not about impressing people. It's about pleasing God. When you live in such a way that your actions reflect the values you profess, you become a living testimony. And the best part, people are drawn to authenticity. They may forget your lectures, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So don't put your faith on display like a decoration. Let it flow through your life as a guiding light. When your walk matches your talk, you don't just preach faith, you live it. And that's the kind of faith that truly changes lives. Authenticity is the true test of faith. Your private actions should match your public declarations. Authenticity is the true test of faith. It's easy to look the part, to say the right words, to put on a face that seems spiritual in front of others. But real faith isn't measured by appearances. It's measured by alignment when your private life reflects the same values you declare in public. The question is simple. Does who you are in the quiet match who you are in the crowd? Anyone can smile in the spotlight, but the real test comes in the shadows. When no one is watching, do you still choose honesty? Do you still speak kindly when it's easier to lash out? Do you still show integrity even when compromise might bring quick gain? Authentic faith doesn't shift with circumstances. It remains steady, consistent, and genuine. I once heard someone say, your character is who you are when nobody is looking. That's where authenticity lies. It's not about perfection. None of us are perfect, but it is about sincerity. People don't expect you to never stumble, but they do expect you to be real. When your words and your actions are in harmony, you create trust, and trust is the bridge that carries your faith into the hearts of others. Think about a mirror. If it's clean, it reflects clearly, but if it's covered with dust or cracks, the reflection is distorted. In the same way, when we live authentically, we reflect the light of God in a way others can see. When we put on masks, that light becomes blurred. Friends, the world doesn't need more performers. It needs more authentic believers. People are tired of speeches without substance, rituals without meaning, and religion without love. What they long for is to see faith in action, faith that breathes, faith that walks, faith that feels real. Don't trade integrity for popularity. A life lived with honesty shines brighter than 1,000 empty sermons. In today's world, it's tempting to chase applause, likes, and recognition. Everywhere we look, people are striving to be noticed, to be followed, to be admired. But here's the truth. Popularity is temporary, while integrity is eternal. Popularity may get you into the room, but integrity will keep you there. If you compromise your values just to gain approval, you may win the crowd for a moment, but you lose something far more valuable, your own soul. Integrity means doing the right thing even when nobody is clapping, even when nobody sees. It's saying, I will stand for truth even if I stand alone, and that's not always easy. Sometimes choosing integrity costs you an opportunity, costs you friends, or costs you recognition, but what you gain is far greater peace of heart, respect that lasts, and the blessing of God. Think about it. People may admire you for your talent, but they will only trust you for your integrity. A dishonest businessman might make a quick profit, but his reputation will eventually collapse. A leader may gain followers with empty promises, but if his character is flawed, his influence won't last. On the other hand, a person of integrity may not always be the most popular, but their legacy endures because their life was built on truth. There's a story of a craftsman who built furniture. When asked why he spent so much time perfecting the parts that no one would ever see, he replied, because I see them, and God sees them. That's integrity, doing the right thing, not for show, but because it's right. Friends, don't sell your values for approval. Don't exchange what's eternal for what's temporary. Popularity fades, applause dies down, but integrity speaks long after you're gone. Stand firm in truth. Choose honesty, and remember, when you live with integrity, you may not please everyone, but you will walk in the favor of the one whose approval truly matters. Your life is the greatest message. Kindness, forgiveness, and love preach louder than any lecture. You may never stand behind a pulpit. You may never hold a microphone, but let me tell you, your life is preaching every single day. The way you treat people, the way you carry yourself, the way you respond in tough situations, that's your sermon. Your life is the greatest message you will ever deliver. People might forget the words you speak, but they will never forget how you made them feel. A simple act of kindness can speak louder than 1,000 polished speeches. When you forgive someone who doesn't deserve it, when you show compassion to someone who can't repay you, when you keep your word even when it costs you, that's a message that reaches deeper than any lecture. Think of a candle. A candle doesn't need to announce its presence, it simply shines, and the darkness is pushed back. That's what happens when you live your faith. You don't need to broadcast it. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to let the light inside of you shine through your actions. That light becomes the testimony, and people are drawn to it. I once heard someone say, "Preach at all times, and if necessary, use words." That's powerful because it reminds us that the world is watching us more than it's listening to us. Your children are learning from your example. Your coworkers notice your integrity. Strangers can see your patience. Without even realizing it, your life is sending a message. The question is, what kind of message is it, friends? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real, consistent, and full of love. When your actions line up with your faith, your life becomes the greatest sermon anyone could ever hear. So live in a way that inspires, that uplifts, that points people toward hope. Remember, the strongest message is real faith is priceless. It isn't something you can put on a shelf, packaged neatly, or use as a bargaining chip. True faith is not a product, it's a way of life. You can't buy it with wealth. You can't earn it with titles, and you certainly can't sell it for applause or recognition. Real faith is proven in the fire of life, in the way you live when trials come, in the choices you make when no one is watching. Too often, people try to use religion as a mask. They wear the right clothes, say the right words, and perform the right rituals, but behind it all, their hearts are empty. That's when faith becomes a transaction, something done for status, for influence, for gain. But here's the truth. God doesn't look at the outward appearance. He looks at the heart. And what he values is sincerity, not performance. Not the one you speak, it's the one you live. Think about the difference between costume jewelry and a diamond. Costume jewelry may shine brightly under the lights, but it has no real value. A diamond, though, is precious because of its authenticity. In the same way, faith that's just for show may impress people for a moment, but it doesn't carry lasting power. Real faith that comes from a heart surrendered to God, is like that diamond. It can't be imitated, bought, or sold. There's an old story about a man who offered to pay a prophet for the gift of the Spirit. The prophet replied, "You cannot buy the gift of God with money." That truth still stands today. Faith isn't for sale. It's a treasure that grows through obedience, sacrifice, and love. Friends, never cheapen your faith by putting a price tag on it. Don't use it for attention or advantage. Let it remain pure, sincere, and priceless, because real faith, the kind that changes lives and moves mountains, can't be bought, can't be sold, it can only be lived. Real faith can't be bought or sold.